science is nothing more than a refinement of everyday thinking. Albert Einstein. Good day and welcome to yet another Off the Cuff where we have a frank and honest discussion with our guest. We want to welcome everyone to the show, those who are viewing from home and those of you viewing on social media. Good day and welcome once again. Praveen?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a safe day thus far and enjoying this Saturday of the week. We have a very interesting guest with us today, and we look forward to a very interesting conversation with the respected guest.
Before we go over to our guest, let me ask you, Praveen, how has your week been?
My week has been busy. It has been busy walking around.
Man, stop beating around the bush. You know I'm asking you. It has been a very eventful week.
It has.
especially on the floor of Parliament. Let's be.
Well, I would just say I have my own opinions about the floor of the Parliament.
Listen, I'm going to start pulling it out of you now. We are off the cuff and we ain't pulling no punches. This week was, a very enlightening week in Parliament.
Indeed.
And with that, we go to our first question. We always ask our guests, welcome, Mr. Ruth Fleming in the
Welcome,
building.
Mr.
And of course, we always start off the show with one frank question. Mr. Ruth, tell me, how the country running?
Well, I think nobody knows. That's my answer. Nobody know how the country running. Everybody trying to figure it out still.
Oh, that is the most honest answer that we could have. You know, we have had several guests, so we always ask that question, and we like to have the optimistic answers that we get. You know, looking at the economy, we've seen the tourism going back up, we've seen the COVID numbers down, and then we see all hell break loose on the French side. We see that in Parliament we have yet another faction and a whole party which was elected just poof, vanished up in smoke, thin air.
Yes,
It is, yeah, you're right.
Nobody knows.
Day by day, we are getting independent.
My next question to you is, how my girl doing? That's a personal question, folks.
Very
my
good.
girl is Venus. His daughter is my girl.
Yes,
now,
sir.
if I are confused about that, Venus is Mr. Ruth's King Corso, a beautiful female
Yes.
dog that together we had a dream of what this dog would look like.
Yes.
And one of the things that Mr. Ruth showed me was his dedication to his dream. It didn't stay at a dream. He put in the necessary work. The man can train dogs just as good as me now.
No, man, he's a genius. I mean, she's developing nice, lot of discipline, lot of manners, and, you know, dealing with you as a dog trainer, you taught me that the first thing you said, a aggressive dog is a liability.
Indeed.
You don't need a dog to be aggressive, you know, so that was my first lesson, and we have a very nice dog. So
But trust me,
she ain't no play.
she will protect you and your family with her life. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
she about. However,
Yes, sir.
there is absolutely not an aggressive bone in her body. That was the first misconception that we
Correct.
took out of the picture, because the
Correct.
idea of these dogs attacking and biting is what we
Correct.
see in these videos.
Correct.
But in reality, that's not the basis
That's
of a
not-
protection
no,
dog.
correct.
Praveen, we could change gears quick on Mr. Rude, because Mr. Rude is a businessman in our community. He is an entrepreneur. He's a talented Mr. Individual. And with that, let me ask you this, and I want to set the tone of the show with this, because a lot of people know you, but you are such a humble individual that, like most of us, we don't take on our accolades. Mr. Rude has driven throughout Europe in million-dollar tour buses. He's been at several Grammy Awards. He is the only only local artist from St. Martin, producer, to ever be featured on Strictly the Best series. We have royalty in our midst in terms of international recognition by some of the biggest. I mean, if we start dropping names, we could fill the show with that. And the humbleness and the down-to-earthness of somebody that's been there, done that on the highest level. Tell us, I know the story. Why are you here? This tells you everything about this man. Why the reason you on St. Martin today?
Well, very good, very good. First of all, Mr. Ortega, let me use this platform to let everyone know that is watching that the fire under your foot that had to go on tonight is cancelled. And part of business ethics, those who bought their tickets can get back their money. The money is 100% refundable. Your ticket was included a free antigen test, and when people hear the word free, they're saying no. They're gonna prove today that it's free. You paid $50 and you're gonna get back $50. So that tells you it was free. So you could get your money back down at the venue or at the Tropicana Ballroom today. The team is already there refunding everyone that purchased their ticket, and I thank everyone for their support. And yeah, it's going to be great. Okay. And back to the matter. So like you're saying, Mr. Ortega, indeed, I definitely trotted my journey from St. Martin to Europe, to be specific, Holland. I went to Holland in 1995. I thank my mom and my dad every day for that decision they made, because just like every other teenager, at the age of 18, I thought I knew what life was about, and I thought I knew where I was heading, and every decision that I made was the best one.
I got a 14-year-old now. I got a 14-year-old now who feels like, Daddy, what are you talking about? Like,
correct,
I see it on the internet.
Correct. So that move to send me to Holland definitely curbed and developed the man that everybody know today. It was one of the greatest things. I remain ever grateful to my parents for that. During in Holland, I achieved a lot of stuff. In my school days, I started what was to become the biggest St. Martin parties in Holland under the brand No Fear crew, attracting over 2,000 people per event. And out of the 2,000, 1,800 were St. Martiners. It was definitely that event where people used to come to see who is in Holland, to see who they didn't see a long time, and on top of that, after that...
That was an international event, man.
Yeah.
We hear about those events down here.
Exactly. And from there, we went to the record label. My record label was Rockin' Vibes. Indeed, I have deals with Green Sleeve Records, Warner Chappell, who you would know for Disney. I have a licensed album at VP Records, who is over Sean Paul and the Capletons and everyone. You ask why I'm here today. At the end of the day, a lot of people say it, but much don't do it. I'm here because of my kid,
There you go.
I had my daughter who was suffering quite a while with eczema and different allergies, and we would realize when we come to St. Martin, things will go well with her. When you're as a young individual, and my label was extremely successful where that is concerned, touring the entire Europe. But at a given moment, I had to stop and say, all right, my child or my business? And I chose my child. I left everything behind, what we worked on. So you would definitely say I gave up everything for my daughter. I would do that 3 times again. Because when I see her progressing now, I say it's the best thing I did. But every sacrifice comes with its benefits, and that's why I could sit here with you today and discuss on this level, because when I came to St. Martin, I was depressed for 2 years, as a matter of fact, because how could you grasp and comprehend what you've built and worked on for years that it just, you leave it behind, On top of that, the decision I made for my kid, the artists them didn't understand. So they themselves decided to go their own way. So then it was like 2 in 1 shot. But where I stand today, in Holland, those who know Holland is sand. And if you build a foundation on sand, it's going to sink. So returning back to St. Martin, I decided building on concrete and solid ground. So hence the reason you see me putting in my best work, because I live with the philosophy you only work once in life. That thing about working all your life, you know, work hard once and enjoy the rest. So that's exactly what I'm doing.
You know, I wanted you to tell that story, because people's motivation, what drives somebody to do the things they do, you have to know where it's coming from. We've seen over the last couple of years on the political scene, in different companies, people's integrity and their reason for doing things. And when a man puts his family first, you don't question, or it's hard to question the reason why he does what he does, his level of motivation, and where he stands in life. And that's why we had this discussion, but I felt I needed you to say that on a platform like this, so people could really get a true sense of who Rude the man is, because we know Rude the artist, we know Rude fire under your foot, and you know, and people see you back, and some of us know of your illustrious career. I mean, illustrious, it's no exaggeration.
Right.
And then you're back in St. Martin. And when we had that talk, as a father, as somebody who my kids come first,
right,
that touched me on a whole nother level. So that's why I really appreciated the fact that I wanted you to talk about that. I know it's rather personal, but it is for people now to get a deeper and more fundamental understanding that when you do the things you do, where it's coming from, it's a love,
right,
a family, it's a real love for this country. That's why you engage in the type of activities you do. We know Fire and Your Foot get cancelled, but briefly, we know that you have all these events coming up for the holiday season. Just a brief rundown. I know you do your rounds already and everybody know what's going on, but you know you're on off the cuff. So again, with a different understanding, now with the understanding that this is about a true love for this country, why you invest your time and energy in putting on the type of events that is going to take place in Phillipsburg for the holidays.
Correct. Look, one of the things that when I came back to St. Martin, within my depression, some of the things that really bothered me is that people will leave this country, go where they go, and come back and brag so much about what they saw. But here we have it. And one of my missions is to really expound on that and show that, we have everything that you could see outside, we have here. And that's why you see the production we do for Night of the Hitmakers, is to make people brag. So now we got people leaving St. Martin bragging about Hitmakers. People going to Aruba, going back to St. Bart's, Curacao, bragging about that show. So we managed to reverse it. We only bring in the good news, we got people carrying the good news. Nice. So basically on the 18th and the 19th, like you're saying, we're going to have Phillipsburg Becomes Magical. It's a stepdaughter, a sister, a cousin of Cope Avon, right?
Yes.
The idea of Phillipsburg Become Magical as extension from Cope Avon, it's an economic drive within Phillipsburg for entrepreneurs. I'm a big advocate for entrepreneurs, for doing your own thing. I believe strongly in self-reliance. It's a big word that people need to understand what it means, and that's the idea behind this project, bringing life back to Phillipsburg.
Right there. Now you segue into the economy. Praveen, we have some questions from our viewers. St. Martin Speechless has a question there. Can you read the question and take it from there?
Yes, Mr. Fleming, we have a question here from St. Martin Anunnaki, and he says, question to the respected guest. What does he think about the temporary TOT and the demand to increase it by one person and the effect it could have on the already suffering business? That is a question from one of our viewers. I'm just going to I would leave you answer that, and I just have a follow-up question for you when you're ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
You see how we set up here, right? I take care of the emotional stuff in the business side here. My Praveen going in, because we know that you are a prominent role in developing and stimulating young entrepreneurs and business in general.
Right.
So I'm gonna leave Praveen.
I think the emphasis on the word temporary, because temporary is a very favorite word in St. Martin.
There you go.
And we often get the impression when you use temporary, it actually means forever.
It's being permanent, correct. So look, first of all, my as a businessman, when I returned to St. Martin in 2011, and I heard about TOT, I find it was the most ridiculous kind of tax there is in the world. It's not a normal tax. I live in Holland for 18 years, and out of the 18 years, I did business for 14. So which means, straight out of school, I became a businessman.
So let me do my maths. You say 14 years times 5% TOT every month. That's a lot of TOT.
That is cemetery. You're buried.
Oof.
You understand? And why I say that is because for my show, I created a break-even synopsis for my event. And when I did the numbers, I lost a lot of money. And I couldn't grasp this break-even model, and I lose money. When I went and I dig deep in it, I sent my books to I have one of the greatest accountants in Holland from Germany, and I sent it to him because I tell him I can't understand. And he sends it, and he sends it back to me, and he says, your loss is this tax. So the TOT was my loss. So there's no way in the world that tax could be contributed to your loss. Tax is not an expense. If you got to see tax as an expense, you're in problems.
It's a problem, yes.
You catch? Expense are what you buy in for your business.
Listen. I slow this conversation down because I could see how you there linking and understand.
Yeah.
But understand that I am a biochemist. I have no comprehension of why you're talking about it. Slow this down for me because
you want me to give you the best example?
Yeah. So
I'm going to bring it down to the basics, right?
Okay.
I am a telephone manufacturer, right? And it costs me $100 to create this telephone, right? That's clear so far, right?
Yeah.
In layman terms, break even means when I sell that telephone, I make back my costs without profit. Right? So that means I spent $100 to make the phone, and I sold it for $100. That means I break even. Not in St. Martin. What it means is you lost $5 in this country. Because what it means, I spent $100. I sold it for $100. There's absolutely no consideration for my expense, but I got to pay 5% on that $100. That means I get back $95. I take 2 steps back. Now I got to go and borrow $5 again to go back to try to
make that. Okay.
You understand? So that means it's an expense.
No. Again, I want these things to be slowed down. Why? Because we just use these terminologies and just accept them as a matter of fact, right? So what you're actually telling me, turnover is just me running my business. And the fact that I'm running a business, government feels that they should have a share in this because break even is just operation. Let's say I'm doing enough to stay operational.
Correct.
I'm making no money, and then government actually telling people to be in business, you owe me 5%.
Yeah. From the time anything you make, 5%.
So now, when we slow down the discussion, now we go now and ask our Minister of Finance and these individuals who continue to promote this concept and not address the reality that it doesn't make any sense. There is nowhere in the world indeed that I pay to operate a business.
As a matter of fact, my accountant gave me the name for the tax, but I'm not gonna say it. He labeled it. He labeled the name of the tax as a German, but I'm not gonna say it.
Whisper it to me in my ear, and trust me, you
I'm
know
gonna tell it to you
and
off
ball
air.
it up, ball it up the mountain. Because these things, you know, I mean, look, I've sat in this seat and we have gotten revelation after revelation over the past 4 weeks that we're doing this. And some of these things, when we talk about them, it does just make the hair that
Don't get me wrong, you know. People need to understand that tax is a must.
It's a must.
Because guess what? The payment for government is tax. Your salary, you understand?
Exactly.
When you work, your business pay you that. The payment to the government is through taxes. So
Exactly.
when we talk about no taxes, that's also not realistic. Because if you say no taxes, that means government apparatus becomes a foundation. Only foundations and non-profit stuff work for nothing. And the second thing is only the sun goes up for nothing. So we can't sit down and say no taxes.
No.
Everybody need to understand their responsibility.
Yes, agreed.
That's it.
Agreed.
Let me have a follow-up question for you on the same point that we are discussing. In 2011, you said, and I quote, "As a young entrepreneur, when I tried registering my business, I got the feeling that St. Martin was not pro-entrepreneurship because of the number of challenges that I faced." Fast forwarding, in December 2017, you were elected on the Chamber of Commerce board for 3 years. You still hold the same sentiments, or you think things have improved? And what would you like to tell to the young entrepreneurs of St. Martin that want to, own their own businesses and make our country proud, just like you?
Correct. I think that statement is exactly what I explained.
So you stand
When
by
I
it even now?
when I said about the taxes, the incentives for entrepreneurs. Like I say, I lived in Holland for 18 years and I did business for 14. And the amount of incentives you have to be an entrepreneur. Let me tell you something. There is no way in the world so many BVs and NVs would exist in the Netherlands. Because, it's hard to do that. Because, but they push entrepreneurship in terms of sole proprietor. If you got those things, they have a lot of deductions, your threshold before you start to pay taxes is set at 20,000 euro or something like that. You can make that.
After that, you start to pay.
Correct.
Man, I could give you some
I could go deep.
stories.
I went to school for 4 years in Holland, and I run my own business for 14.
So you had the basic help from the structure. And
correct. The structure is there. Like I say, it's to motivate. So when I come in from a place that you are used to certain things, and you come and you realize, hey, the taxes is the reason for you to register a loss. There's a big change coming soon, but the fact that becoming an entrepreneurship, it was a challenge to be able to do certain amount of activities, and it's just so much a red tape.
Yeah.
Right now, I must say, since I've been there, a lot has changed. Sometimes it's like someone told me about a good old bamboo tree. The bamboo tree grows down for years, and when she shoots up, it grows 2 feet per day or something like that. So there's a lot going on, and you could see it as the bamboo tree, But in terms of like you're asked to, what could I motivate people to do? I say don't deter yourself. For me myself, I set my eye on the prize and I adjust it to the climate. It's just like the pandemic we're in. You have a choice. The wind change, my boat ain't moving. You adjust the sails.
correct.
You know what I'm saying? The important thing is to know where you're going. Because if you adjust your sails and the boat is going to take you totally where you're not going, then it's best you just leave and stand still until the wind comes again to keep you blowing on your journey.
So in a nutshell, would you say that from your experiences of your 18 odd years in Holland, do you think the system is more inclined to make the younger population or the general population more job givers than job seekers?
100%.
And what do you think is lacking, in case you think it is lacking, in this particular scenario where people are inclined to be job givers rather than job seekers here, right here in our... do you think we are slowly adapting to that kind of mechanism, or...
I think on a level of the individuals themselves, but not the apparatus. You understand? The individuals, you know, disasters and things like the pandemic create entrepreneurship. Why? Because people lose their jobs, and because they got to fend for themselves and their family. You have some of those where that entrepreneurship ambition comes out, and that's where they create all their new ventures, you know. But I think the thing about it, you ask about Holland, they understand the importance, for example, of people working from home. So you have certain deductions that you could deduct for running your business at home. You see, the incentives you get, you know, people think making money is always on the receiving end. Making money is also on the saving end. You understand what I'm saying? So if I have to spend $1,000 less, I make $1,000, but it's hard to digest that, because you actually got to get a physical $1,000 to say you make money.
On that note, right there, we're gonna get right back into the business aspect, because the conversation is going in that direction. We're gonna take a short commercial break. We're already halfway through the show. Don't forget to like and share the show. Leave us your comments. We'll be right back.
See you after the break, ladies and gentlemen.
King's Lottery is celebrating its first anniversary on St. Martin with a grand prize draw of $15,000. First place $5,000, second place $3,000, third place $2,000, plus 5 $1,000 prizes. To all our customers, thank you for trusting and supporting King's Lottery, and continue to play King's Lottery by Freddy Fernandez. Draw date December 15th.
Esta semana el show de Naila y Allen continúa con un ambiente navideño.
Hola chicos, te traemos muchas sorpresas en Navidad.
Y le damos la bienvenida a todos nuestros amiguitos de New York, New Jersey y Connecticut a través de Optimum, All Cablevisión, Canal 1014. Recibiremos las historias del viejito Salomón. Nuevamente con nosotros, los cuentos y ocurrencias del monito Quique. Luz Rayito nos habla del mejor regalo de Navidad. La magia de André Magic te sorprenderá. Todo esto y mucho más diversión en el programa que tiene atrapado a los niños en el fin de semana. El show de Naila y Allen. Sábados y domingos a las 4 de la tarde por TV Carib, TV Carib Latino y todas nuestras redes sociales.
say a quick hello to those viewers that we have on social media: Michael Hudson, Gohan Brooks, Terence Pontiflet, St. Martin Anunnaki, and David Beltre. Brenda, good morning. Join Brenda and Prince every weekday for the world at 7 a.m. right here on this network, TVCARIB. Praveen?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you have any questions for our respected guests, you can always call on the number 554-5601. You can always give us a WhatsApp call as well if you have any kind of questions for our respected guest. Don't forget to join TV Carib every Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. with our prestigious host, Miss Brenda and Mr. Prince Herbert Martina. And Mr. Ortega,
yes,
let's get on with the
show.
show.
Let me go on, because the conversation is going in a very needed direction in terms of entrepreneurship for our young locals. I not me personally, but someone close to me, a therapist, professionals, they come back young and want to establish themselves. They try their best to go through the process, and then they hit with taxes and upon taxes without actually ever making a dollar. They were a year or two in the hole. And these are our own coming back, trying to do their part in helping the economy and helping the country. And I saw this firsthand with regards to how hard it is for young entrepreneurs to establish businesses. And so there is where Praveen was, I think we're going with in terms of the developments and the strides that have been made by for example, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Can you talk, give us a little bit of
the role of the Chamber of Commerce, basically promoting
entrepreneurship and small business development. What are some of the steps in that area?
I'm going to have to use a disclaimer now, because I'm not the president of the chamber and I'm not the director, and only those people based on the rules of order could discuss and talk about it.
Okay, with that, we want to make a public now. It's my brother, but trust me, I will have to make that public and get him here and tooth and nail. We would like to invite the newly elected board members of the Chamber of Commerce, Ife Badijo, Miss Jennifer Carty and Benjamin Ortega, to come and sit down and have an off-the-cuff discussion with us about the future of the chamber and helping and stimulating young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship in general in our community. We see for a fact that there is a need for more locals to get directly involved in business for different reasons. Primarily, I believe that if more young locals get into entrepreneurship, a lot more development locally. They already invest their money right here.
Yes.
Going to take place, and that in its overall sense will stimulate St. Martin, the next generation.
Of course. Don't get me wrong, and so that I just mentioned it because what I talk cannot be in the name of the chamber.
Yes, agreed. No, you here as Mr. Rude Fleming, and when we
talk about businesses,
we talk
and
about
everything,
businesses, and we use all the resources of information and knowledge that you have. I mean, correct. For example, ideas, your personal ideas in. Let me put it like this: we were or have been given the opportunity to access almost $500 million guilders via the Netherlands. You as a businessman, you as statesman, you looking at the bigger picture. What would have been some of the investments made in terms of developing and stimulating St. Martin? You don't need to go into detail, but when you hear that type of figures, what does the mind of Ruth say? Listen, there, we need to do that. We should do this. This would be a good opportunity for St. Martin. Well, what are some of those ideas?
You know, one of the things that amazed me about St. Martin, it always goes to infrastructure. It's important, yes, you know, but you don't see programs come into place to empower and to educate. And sometimes I ask myself why. For example, if you take this money and go into the communities and start to create, maintenance guys, create whether it's cars, whether it's ACs, whether it's make your own stuff, and invest into programs where you could create entrepreneurship to teach people to fend for themselves. You know, those kind of, and they would invest in those programs. I realize that the youths, the younger generation has become like a kind of a forgotten generation. And then we ask ourselves, why, what is happening? You know, when you talk about you're a family man, if you don't give your youth attention, they're going to do things to get that attention. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you have a lot of important stuff. The question is, where's the information? Where's the data? When you listen to various, whether it's court cases or various media questions, people don't have a clue what is what the figures are, what is needed, where we got to look. So at a given moment, we start to run on emotions. If you don't have figures, you're running on emotions. You're running on feeling, hearsay, all of them are emotions. The only thing that could guide you is figures. So when you have the figures there, you can make a better decision as to, okay, this is what's lacking here, this is too high here, and then you could implement, you know. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges why the faucet wasn't open. The faucet wasn't open because if there's no information, you can't make a clear plan. And if there's not a clear plan, you can't convince people to give you what you want.
Agreed. We like, for example, I remember when I was in the Netherlands and they were wanting to revamp Den Haag. Mm-hmm. There were billboards throughout the city with 3 different ideas. A clear vision of where they wanted to take the city, and the people were requested to give their input, and eventually a plan came out. What I mean is, they had a long-term plan. Correct. First of all. Correct. Within that long-term plan, you need short-term plans. Correct. To get to the long-term plan. Correct. Then that means that every 4 years, you have to have a regeerakkoord. And that means a plan by which you going to govern. Correct. For the next 4 years. Correct. We don't ever look. I've been here back 25 years. I've not seen one. Right. There is no direction that I can say we are going in. Correct. We talk about growing GDP. We talk about the increase in the figures of tourism. They continue to grow. Right. Although I have an issue with the quality versus quantity. In that arena, even within that arena, we are not developing in the direction that the world is going. So you see a lot more ecotourism. You see a lot more people want interaction with animals in certain environments. Right. We have certain infrastructures that can cater to developing those type of things, but we don't seem to, even in the industry that we are predominant in, follow or use the trends. So again, collecting data and using and applying data adequately isn't something that is fundamental. And we don't see a regeerakkoord. There is no, we're going this direction so I can evaluate the decision that was made here in terms of how it fits with the overall bigger plan. It is as if whichever direction the hurricane wind blows, we decide, okay, since we're on this road, let we go to how far it can reach us, and then you see the bottlenecks arise when in due time, and then we always, it seems that we fishing behind the net.
Right.
Yeah, as if we reacting
Right.
instead of responding. We're not proactive, we're reactive. Am I completely lost and confused when I say that?
No, I think you're right. In terms of proactive and reactive, we are definitely reactive. You know, we react on everything. We react after the fact. You know, and one of the things is vision. You know, people would ask what is vision, and sometimes one of the easiest thing is a visionary, someone that sees something that majority can't see. You understand? And sometimes implementing vision become hard because some people want to touch it, they want to hear it, they want to feel it before it comes. But that's not vision. You know, vision is beyond. And I think being a visionary, having visionaries at the helm would change a lot.
Let me quickly tell Mr. Gohan Brooks that the phone lines are open. If you have any questions for the respected guests, you can always call us in anytime. Also, Mr. Fleming, let me get another question from one of the viewers over here. What are the thoughts of the respected guests on the facilities provided to the private sector from the state branch, to promote employment? And also his thoughts on applying 2% to 5% import tax on alcohol and tobacco. Let me also add to this that we are one of the cheapest, I think, in the Caribbean, or I think even compared to US in terms of cigarettes and alcohol, I think. What are your thoughts? That's one of the questions from one of the viewers.
I think we have
a call
coming in. I think this is our good friend Gohan Brooks. Is this Gohan?
You know it.
Yeah. You're
Good morning,
live in
Gohan.
the
How are
program.
you?
Good morning. So go ahead with your question for our guest.
Question to the guest. Seeing that you are a businessman, I come to bring the real. Do you think St. Martin currently is a financial model you yourself would invest in? Or you will say the product St. Martin is a good model to invest in based on how currently things has been going on and the direction they want to go?
Did you get that question, Mr. Fleming?
No, I hear.
You couldn't hear it?
No. But you can repeat
Can you
it.
rephrase it?
Gohan, we're going to just pass the phone to our respected guest so he can hear you properly. Excuse us for that, ladies and gentlemen. Here you go. Can you repeat the question, please, Gohan?
Yes, do you think St. Martin is a viable investment as a country and its direction it has been going and it's going?
Well, right now, you know, sustainability is important, and we haven't been seeing sustainability for a while. Anybody that invests their money, they invest it with long-term vision. And if you have a idea that your investment within a short term would go up in smoke, I don't think it becomes for investors it become interested. Because like I say, visionary, if a man invests in something in the next 10 years, those who know mortgage and stuff, when you, not necessarily a mortgage, but if you buy a building, you set a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan to deal with that building. So if you feel like within 5 years this building going to crash, it's not a building you're going to invest in. And that's the same thing that I would say about that, you know.
Okay.
So thank you, Gohan, for your call. I hope you got the answer to your question. Thank you once again for calling in. We wish you a good weekend, Gohan.
Have a good
I
one.
think he had a second part. I can't remember if he had a second part.
Did you have a second part of the question, Gohan?
He hung up. Well, I want to go back to the question raised by St. Martin Anunnaki with regards to 2% to 5% on the import tax on alcohol and tobacco.
You know, I wouldn't even segregate alcohol and tobacco. Import tax, period. You know, this I call it dinosaur way of thinking of St. Martin have to be a tax-free country. That gone. We're in 2021. You know, people don't buy CDs no more. You know,
we can always use the word temporary.
You know, we could use the word. We're going to cut it, we're going to remove, we're going to implement it temporarily. I find, you know, look, I just said it. Government gets paid
via
taxes. So at the end of the day, I would prefer do import taxes than continue killing the TOT on the people.
Agree.
You understand? So at a given, you got to choose. You can't remove it. So if you want to replace a tax for now, because look, anywhere in the world, you know, if you go in Curacao, right, you got to pay 33% to import your car on the day value.
Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
If you going right here, Anguilla, you got to do the same. Station Sabre, you got to do the same. Sinkers, you got to do the same, you know. So when they say St. Martin is a free-for-all, it's a literal term. So when we going to put a halt to that free-for-all?
Let me ask you this.
I have a follow-up on that one, Mr. Ortega.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, I think where the respected one of the viewers is coming from. See, if you put, that's my thinking. Maybe I'm completely wrong. If you put a general import tax on anything that comes in St. Martin, see, we are already suffering from inflation.
Right.
Be it in a middle class person like me or a lower income person. For us, the most important thing is the food prices, or rents, or let's say the public services, be it GB, be it internet, etc., etc. But those other things as well, they take a secondary seat. The first is your rent and your food. Food for you, food for your family. Now I think where this thought is coming from of applying 5% on strictly alcohol and tobacco, because what that would do, I think, in general, is our food cost will still be dependent. We import everything basically. So it will be basically depending on the international prices. But I think mostly the alcohol and tobacco is consumed or taken away out of this country by tourists.
Right.
We all know the amount of alcohol and cigarettes that are sold in St. Martin is basically, I mean, if you take let's say a carton of Marlboro, for example, it's anywhere between $125 to $130 in New York, or you know, but in St. Martin it would be around $30, I guess. So do you think applying a general tax, import tax on everything wouldn't increase?
Well, I wouldn't say that you have to generalize the tax. Each segment of each sector would have their own taxation. So I'm not gonna say 25% on everything come in. Because, you know, once again, I could only refer to Holland because that's the tax system I know. For example, you would have the 19%, but people think it's 19% on everything. On basic needs, it's 6%.
So maybe 19 is the category of luxury.
There you go.
Watches, cars.
Correct. And then you come down to, for example, the regular water, the bread and stuff, that's 6%.
Do we continue to have an income tax? Or we go to indirect tax? Do we continue to tax income? Income. So the individual's income, wage tax.
Wage tax.
Do we continue to implement that? Or do we go to a taxes on goods where it increase the buying power of the individual and still government gets its taxes earned on sales? So thereby eliminating also the TOT and have a tax on the goods.
So that's what I was going to say. We're talking about two different things. Income tax and the TOT and the tax on goods is two different taxes.
You see, I am layman here now, so I just throwing these things out.
Two different taxes, you know?
To get clarity on it.
Yeah. So the thing about it is now, I guess if I understand your question correct, you're saying the let's say the VAT versus the TOT.
Value added tax.
You catch what I'm saying? That's a comparison where how you're gonna go, but the VAT needs a serious structure in place because the VAT works in a system where it's financial and physical. Physical is the tax, that's where you do business with the tax office, and the financial is where you do business with your clients. At the end of whether it's 3-month period, you have to say, all right, I get so much financial and so much in physical, but I give away so much in physical, so much in financial. Within the physical part, if you give out more to the tax office, which means your purchase is higher than what you give out, the tax office got to pay you back the difference. That's how it works. You think you're going to get back the difference?
Not here.
Let me follow that. Let me follow that.
Dead on arrival.
What, in that case, what are your thoughts on the hot topic going on nowadays is dollarization?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you think that the guilder gives us certain kind of stability when it comes to St. Martin and to the Central Bank of St. Martin and Curacao? So what are your thoughts on dollarization?
You know, there's two things. I believe in having your own identity, and if the guilder is coupled to the dollar, I would like us to keep our guilder. That's your identity.
Yeah.
The problem is not the guilder and the dollar. The problem is the 1% licensing fee that was temporarily implemented.
Temporary.
Another temporary. Listen. It seems like we got a thing with temporary.
We have to
Put
soon,
us in there, and us was there temporary. It disappear.
we have to soon change
That's the
name
problem.
from
So
the-
there's no
We've had
consistent
11
exchange
temporary
rate because of
governments.
that.
We've had 11
we have
temporary
to soon
governments.
change the name from the friendly island to the temporary
You
island.
check what I'm saying? So that's the problem. That 1% make you find it 1.78 here, 1.77 there.
Different.
Some places have it 1.75, then 1.82. I think the
The
consistency of the
discrepancy is
exchange rate is what making it look like ain't good. You understand? But on the other hand, if your full purchase is dollars from where you're getting it to where you're selling it, it shouldn't have no influx, because if you purchase something for $1 away, you bring it in for the same dollar, and you put your 20% markup or whatever, that's your profit. So that idea of the exchange rate that is going on is what confusing people right now. You go to the gas station, you get this amount
It's
for your
different
dollar.
in different
You get that amount for your
177.
dollar,
You're buying for 177. You're selling for
No,
180.
but we are doing that, because at the end of the day, if our currency, I went to Curacao, it's amazing. I go there, and you go to the supermarket and you shop in dollar, you get in back guilder.
Yeah.
How in the world you could go to any establishment and they think they become a change point and changing your money for you? That's utterly disrespect. If I pay you with guilders, I want back guilders. That's the currency of the country. That's the currency of the government. But we leave people do what they want. If everybody demand guilders back, because those people who are changing your money for you, you know what they're doing with that? They're using that
Yes.
money to go to buy gas
Yes.
and pay the taxes.
Yes.
But we feel like, we need dollar. No, give me back my guilder to the cent, the 1 cent. If they don't exist, then give me 5 cents.
There you go. I've championed that. I did it for a long time, but it becomes increasingly difficult because they would actually tell you they don't have enough change.
Yeah.
We don't have the change, and to the point now that it is no longer a request. They tell you, "I'm gonna give you change in dollars."
No,
and
I
if
want
you
my
would
change.
change that back, you would be at the losing end.
I want
So-
it in, yeah. And with regards to the you asked that about the income tax. Once again, I think the income tax could be lowered and balance it. Find a nice balance where people have some more spending power. But once again, that perception of no tax gonna send government bankrupt.
Yeah.
You need to understand that. Where they gonna get the money? Where?
Oh, we have another question from one of our viewers. And Mr. Ortega, would you like to go ahead and read the question?
From Ms.
Yes.
Anunnaki again?
Yes, I think so.
What are
It's a
your
follow-
thoughts on the short term? Oh boy, yes. What are your thoughts on these short term labor agreements? And that's from a businessman perspective of someone
Yeah.
that hires
That's a good
employees, and from your fundamental understanding of how society works. How did
Yeah,
this?
I think that short-term contract is a double-sided knife. In life, you got always two paths: left, right, black, white, up, down. Right? I could imagine from an employee aspect, they want a level of stability in order to submit whether if to get a loan or to determine what house or what your expenses are, to budget in a way to create a standard way of living.
Standard, yeah, sure.
But from the employer side, he want to do the same in terms of, okay, when you commit to someone, it's no secret that you have good people and bad people.
Yes. that's
You
a
don't
fact.
want to tie in yourself in a long-term agreement with a bad person, a non-productive person. The objective of business is making money. The way you work, the first thing I learned in business, if you're setting up a business, do not work in your business. That means I have to get employees. And if the employees are not being productive enough to turn over the income I need to keep the business afloat, two people dying. Me as a business owner and the employee. I do believe you need a phase to say, all right, you prove yourself, you fit our criteria, or you have to leave. But when you pass that part, you have to commit. You have to commit. This extension of 6 plus 6 plus 6, no, I disagree with that. But I believe as an employer, you need to make sure, and you're never sure. Because sometimes people work in 3 years good and as soon they get permanent, doctor card and you're sold. But who's fighting for that? Who's fighting for that? You know one of the stigmas within this country? From the time you open a business, you're a millionaire, you know. But he got your own business, he can afford that.
Let's ask our producers a very important question. Can we have, please, 10 more minutes of time just to round up, because if you blink twice, it is already noon, and we would otherwise be running to the end of the program. We want to go just a little 10 minutes more.
Yes.
Do we have a okay? We have a okay, so we could continue on that track.
If we run out of time, that means we're having fun.
We're having fun.
Let me ask you, what do you think is the ideal? We already know your thoughts about the temporary. We've used temporary so many times. I come back with the word temporary. So we now really understand your thoughts on the short-term working contract. What do you think should be the ideal period? I think right now is 6 months.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think 1 year should be a sufficient time.
I think a year. I think how it goes, you give them 2 months. 2 months is your trial period.
That's a trial period,
right?
Correct, yes.
And then a year.
Yes.
I think a year is fair. Within a year, if you have the right evaluation system put in place, you will be able to make conscious decision. Here we go with data again. If you want to be fair towards your employee, I think you should let them know every 3 months where they're falling short. Give them chance to fix it.
Data, correct.
Give them chance to fix it. So at the end, when you reach your year, you have enough information to say why I'm not extending it, or why I am extending it.
Yeah,
you know.
I believe too. You got to have both sides of the coin.
It's both sides.
You should be as an employer. I can give you the 3-year contract because I am not. Although I'm tied to it, right? There is still, based on your performance,
yes,
not an impossibility for me to take the necessary action.
It must be based on that, because if you look in general, people must be accountable for their actions, and every action you do must have a consequence. I think it is extremely unfair for businesses that have it very, very hard trying to maintain. Sometimes a lot of bosses sacrifice their salary to make sure the employees and the operation
Sorry
run,
to cut you there, Mr. Fleming. We'll continue with your. We just have another caller. Caller, good afternoon. Your question, please.
Wait just a second. Let me do this. Go ahead. Repeat your question. Sorry.
No, I was just leaving the guest go because now I speaking the real now. Now I touching on topic matters that really is the determining point. The semantic will make it or break it. For me, I'm an investor. The future of semantic, as where it's going now currently, for me is dead. Why I say that? For a number of things. A lot of semantic people is millionaires, but millionaires on paper. They have a little land, etc., but they can't do nothing with it. Okay? Not to mention that individual have 3-4 kids, and when the next generation come in now, nobody have the ability or the know-how to even turn that into an investment or something to benefit the family. We see that in the old generations in Martin, and now this is going to happen again. You understand? Not to mention 90% of semantic service GDP relies on services. Okay? We have a bunch of food places all over the place. We got over the hill, etc., etc. So for me, the model of semantic is overvalued. It don't run a course already. The glory days is over. Now it's time to build new in the mental and the physical. So if we're not talking that direction, and he also to touching back on the taxes. We're talking about the taxes getting implemented. We need this, we need that. But the tax system itself on the island don't even get the 100% of the taxes they ask. So that's a whole other thing now altogether.
Gohan, I'm sorry
Yes.
to cut you here. We are just on a limited time. I would please request you to ask your question, and then you can follow the answer of the respected guest on the live stream. Can you please ask your question?
Yes. What can St. Martin do to get back the glory deed? Template of tourism is dead. What can St. Martin do to get back the glory deed?
Thank you, Gohan, for your question. I again apologize for the time restraint.
Yeah, I mean, he
respected
was
guest.
making some very
Good points.
astute
Yes.
points and some great observation. This young man got a bright future. I like the way we just argue, but I like the way his mind works, especially when it comes to business and understanding the bigger picture. Because indeed, when I think of things to stimulate the economy, I get upset that the one thing that we locals tend to do is we going into food. We want to sell some food. We want to sell some food. We want to sell some food. Restaurant. It seems that we don't think outside the box. I look at areas. Maybe I'm a weirdo, but I look at ecotourism. I look at our environment. I see a wall of opportunity there with a different type of market, with a different type of people doing different things, stimulating more of the economy. Let's say I do a reptile park. Now we're gonna need people producing livestock to feed those animals. You're bringing in now behavioral people. Now our students going away to study different type of things. I tend to think of how to stimulate the economy from one place that expands in different areas. And Gohan was making a valid point. Our model has run its course. Where are we going? What we need to change?
Yeah, I think that the biggest change we need to do is start to empower and invest in the people here. You understand? When I say empower and invest, in terms of creating incentives to make doing business, how you say, easier, making the chance of losses bigger. When I say empower, start to bring trainings, the right trainings, the right educational
SPWA
programs
SPWA
to give
business
broaden
training,
it.
yeah.
Guess what? People will. The easiest thing to do is follow what you see. That's the easiest thing to do because nobody gonna try to invent the wheel again. You know. The tourism, it's clear. That's why I said to myself, we have a module where we want to promote that. Come to St. Martin because we are tax-free. But they're going everywhere else that are not tax-free.
They're going.
So it's
enjoying it.
gone already. You know, start to empower the people here. The people here. Start to make people feel like, yo, I got to become a level of patriotic. That's something that is very missing big time. You understand? Everywhere around us, patriotism is heavy. You understand? So when you start to bring back that, make people feel like, yo, this place is mine. This is my place, my island. It don't matter. We're just saying everybody that is here.
Yeah, yes.
That is yours. You claim it and you go full force. Bring back the power. You're going to see what's going to happen.
With those inspirational words, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want us to add any more. I just wanted to lead that, sit and meditate in people's mind for just a moment, and to understand that at the end of the day, the responsibility always gonna be to the individual. How you position yourself, what you want to become for yourself, what visions you have for yourself and the broader community out there. I don't think we have no hope. I always see a bright light at the end of the tunnel, and I think the next generation with the right people in the right place right now going to take us there. It seems that the time is coming for a lot of us, our generation now, to start to become the leaders and the elders and take up certain mantles in our community where we can guide and get things done. Praveen?
Well, like always, we are running short of time. Again, we had a great conversation with our respected guest. Do we have a question? Do we have maybe 3-4 minutes to squeeze in a real quick, brief question from one of our viewers?
Go ahead.
Do you have? Okay, let me ask this quickly. What are your thoughts? What are the thoughts of the respected guest on the Mullet Bay property? Would you like to elaborate briefly?
Well, you know, I've been following the Mullet Bay property. I think majority of my family work at Mullet Bay. I think my grandmother was known as the Big Mama of Mullet Bay, which is Elo.
Elo, yes.
Elo, that's the grandmother. My father
yes.
worked at Mullet Bay, my aunts, my uncles, everybody. And I think generally, and I use the word patriotism again. You understand what I'm saying? Patriotism would have never allowed that place to stay how it is. Patriotism gonna make the people of the country claim what's theirs. You know, and I think it is sad. It is very sad because Mullet Bay, when you hear Mullet Bay, look how the name roll, you know, it's like, you know, with like Suntop, you use Suntop. Guess what?
Yes.
Suntop was so good that now everything in a box is Suntop.
Suntop, yes.
It don't matter the name, it's
White
a
Malt.
Suntop, you know, and
When you think of hotel in Simating, you think
I
of
believe
Mullet Bay.
at a given moment we should create those, let me use a word, the 6 stars hotel. We should create it here.
Yeah. And we
We
can.
add a star to it. You
Yeah.
know, if we want to attract, start to build our own attraction, you know. I mean, that's my point on it. I can't go deep in it and discuss.
No.
I could just tell you, as
Yeah.
where I stand, for so long, it's a pity that it can't get off the ground.
Yeah,
you know?
it is till today one of the biggest thorns in our eyes.
Yep.
That we have still that lingering reminder of a hurricane more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I just before we leave,
Yes.
I have something that I really needed to say on the employee part that didn't.
Yes, go ahead.
That I didn't get to finish. I think I was saying that people need to know everything has a consequence. I believe that there come a point where, you know, it's just like the rule that came out that you can't chastise your children anymore, right? Guess what happened? No, you can't touch me. So they become bad. They're going to do their wrongness and you can't touch me. They're ready to call the police. I don't believe in abuse.
No.
Don't
But
get it wrong.
consequences.
But there's a consequence for your action. So if you have employees that want to disrespect your organization, don't respect your organization, don't contribute to it, and costing you a lot of money, I think you should have the rights to tell them, thank you, but I think our cooperation is finished. Not be there and you have all these people making you feel like you're seeing that they are victimizing the employer, but you're being rewarded for it.
Yes.
That's a discussion
Yes.
for another
That's a
program.
discussion, and it's one
yes,
that we
that's,
need to have.
That's a big discussion.
As a former union man,
Yep.
we need to have that discussion
I'm
because
telling you,
again,
man. Come
it
on.
brings the responsibility
Come
home.
on, you gotta
The
be
abuse
responsible.
is evident.
Especially in COVID times as well.
The abuse is evident.
Come on, I
Ladies
just
and
have to
gentlemen-
say that. Sorry.
ladies and
You have, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a very interesting conversation. Once again, we have our doors open because the last part opened the doors for a lot of other questions. I would just advise our viewers to do their research on vaccinations and get vaccinated after doing your research and removing all the doubts. I wish you all a good weekend, Mr. Ortega.
Yes, let me concur with that message. Omicron, the new variant is out there. We had Delta, we had blah blah. By now we understand where this is going and what we need to do. Get vaccinated. It protects you. It protects those around you. The holiday season are coming up. We want to be close again as family. So do the right thing, folks. Let us not escalate the numbers. Let us continue being the example in the Western Caribbean for how we manage and deal with COVID. With that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Like and share the show. It's been another interesting Off the Cuff. Have a good Saturday.
Have a good weekend, ladies and gentlemen.